Welcome back to my channel. And today I was inspired by Scott Reeder. He said something that really made sense to me. He said that a tour to Russia showed me that propaganda perverts reality in the minds of Americans. My months-long tour of the country was an eye-opening experience, and so was the hostility that made me back home. So, I was thinking, yes, because I have traveled to many different countries, cultures, etc., and I have found that there's a lot of things that I did not know, and I was surprised because it was like totally different from what I thought it would be. And I had to revise what I thought about things and evaluate what was true or not. And so there you go. Actually, it made me think of maybe it's not just what the present situation, like the political situation. It's not just, of course, Russia, America. It's the whole world. And it's each one of us, how we have grown up in a certain culture, certain country, climate, what schools we have been going to, what kind of media we have been reading, and so on. It's all the impressions you get from your born till you go out and find out that maybe the world is not what you thought it was. So it's a little bit like, anyway, we come back to that. The first time I actually really realized, wow, it's a lot of things I don't know at all, was when I was flying from Copenhagen here to Kenya here, and I was only 26. I was going to work in Uganda, and when we were about to land and I looked out of the window, I thought, wow, this is the airport. I thought, wow, the grass is just like in Denmark. It's green and it just looks like Denmark. And I don't know what I was thinking, whether they didn't have green grass, but it was a surprise to me. So that was the first time. And then later on, many years later, when I was in Lesotho, which is, wow, where's the map? Lesotho is down here. It's a state inside South Africa, but it's independent. So I knew it was cold when we have summer. I went in August, and I knew it was cold, but I didn't know that it was so cold. It was 5 degrees, and it was actually a little bit snowing sometimes. There was no heating in the hotel. So I spent a lot of time under the duvet. And of course, I had to work. I had to go outside. And I was freezing. So I bought a big sweater, hand knitted by Lesotho women from their own wool, from their sheep. And it was so warm and so wonderful. I actually had it for 10 years. And I bought a pair of boots, which went up to the knee, and there were sheepskin inside. The fur was inside, and they were so wonderfully warm. So that was also a very big surprise for me, because by that time I had lived in Africa for many years, and I thought I knew all about Africa, but I really didn't. I had lived near on the equator, and in Uganda it's wonderful sunshine. It's about 25 degrees, and it rains at least 1 hour every day, so everything is green. So anyway, Lesotho was a very big surprise for me. Then in 1994, I went to Africa first time in 67, so 94, I went to Iran, and that's me. I was there doing some seminars, or giving some seminars. I was very surprised how Tehran looked like. I'll show you the streets. This is not what I had expected. Looks very nice and clean, and the buildings are beautiful. And one day I was sitting waiting for my host. He was inside his business and doing a few things, and I had time to look around. I looked around and I thought, there's something wrong with this picture. I mean, it is so clean, and the buildings are like well maintained, and I said, what is it that's wrong? This looks more like Switzerland, like Zurich or St. Gallen. And suddenly I realized what was wrong was, of course, all I knew really about Iran was they had a civil war, they had a revolution in 79, and this was 94, and I thought that it still looked like there had been a war, and that the buildings had, poke marks, and it looked like terrible, but it didn't. So that was another one where I thought, well, the media doesn't really tell us the truth. So the next is about the sea. This is the Pacific Ocean. This is the east coast of Taiwan. I was there many, many times. For all the time I was in East Asia for 12 years. This is 2011. And it's the first time I had time to go and see the Pacific Ocean and the coast, and it was so wonderful. It really was so wonderful. But my surprise was that the sea, let me show you, looks just like the sea I'm used to. I'm used to the Danish sea. Actually, it's a belt, it's called the Big Belt or Store Belt. And I lived there all the time until I left my parents when I was 19. I lived there like here, 3 months every summer. So that is like summer to me. It's Denmark. I love it. It's like why I painted this painting and so on. And yeah, there you go. See. Isn't it wonderful? Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. This is just like it looks like. These ones here, apparently, I must have put them in my head and remembered them because a year ago I painted these and I didn't realize really why I loved it so much. I loved it. I had just been do. But I realized it's because these are the ones from my beach in Denmark. Next one here. That's when I was in New Zealand. It's actually a beach very near Auckland. Let's go back here. So New Zealand, so Taiwan was here. New Zealand is here. And Auckland is right here. So that's the Pacific. And it looks just like my beach. I lived so near the water, it was like that red house there. That is how near the water I lived. So beautiful. And this, it's just so beautiful. Now I'm going to tell you something which is really interesting. I worked in Uganda for 7.5 years, 67 to end of December 74. I worked with disabled people and taught them how to do cloth printing because textiles is my textile design and so on is my profession. And so I went there to teach them how to earn a living by cloth printing and tailoring. And I was supposed to be there for only 2 years, but I stayed on. I got 3 kids. I married, got 3 kids, and I built a house. And unfortunately, I can't find the picture of my house, but the funny thing is, here's my garden, and here's Lake Victoria. And when I talked with my husband about getting a piece of land, I can't own land there, but he can. Only Ugandans can own land in Uganda. And that's an old law. So he said, so where do you want the land to be? I said, so that I can see Lake Victoria. And he looked at me, he said, why? Because I love the water. That's like Denmark. He said, okay, fine. The funny thing is that Ugandans don't appreciate the lake. For them, it's nothing special. It's, well, you go and get fish and, you get more rain when you're near the sea, the lake, but for them it's nothing. Okay, I got my land. I cleared the elephant grass, drew up the buildings and got them approved by the city council and started supervising the building, and the builder turned the whole building around 180 degrees, so I was looking at a hill instead of at the lake. Fortunately, I caught him and said, "You have to turn it." And he looked at me, "Why?" "Because I want to look at the lake." And he looked at me and thought, these Europeans. Anyway, I got it as I wanted it. And, well, that's my garden, my lovely. I planted every tree and every bush and every flower. And I loved it because it was like my creation. Now there is this one, if you can see it. Ta-da. It's an Australian flag. Because I left in 94 and I left the house, and they've been taking care of it. And there was an Australian living in it, renting it, and he was a very nice person. That's my son. He went there some years ago and took the pictures, and he just loves Uganda. He lives in France, and this was there, sitting in the shadow, getting a cup of tea, looking at the garden and the lake. Oh, it's so beautiful. This is my son, my granddaughter, my family. She's a nurse. That's her daughter with somebody else. And this is a brother to my son with a different wife. And he's a lawyer. This one is disabled. And so it's a normal family. There you go. And all these things, when you go over them, there are many other things. God made you think. Actually, what really nailed it was I was in Somalia, and it is about 30 degrees and it is 100% humidity. It is like so humid that you just stand and the sweat just runs down your legs. So I was looking, around, saw a woman walking on the street, and she was covered completely. They're Muslims, but they don't always, they hardly ever cover themselves. But, once in a while, there's somebody who covers herself completely, like in Afghanistan. And I thought it must be very hot. But anyway, if she grew up with this, if she was kind of programmed that this is the way you live, this is the way whatever, this is the way you dress, it's normal for her. And I thought, it's like we actually have like a program tape going through our mind. When we grow up, it's like the culture we live in, the kind of parents we have, their values, what we learn in school or don't learn in school, what the media prints, what we see on TV, and that's what we think is the right way. And that goes for all cultures, countries, and so on. And some are more open, some more closed. I would say in a way Denmark is open, but it's actually very closed. It's very, very closed. We learn to love our ways and you follow the ways, and there you go. But I was too curious. I had to go and see what is there in the world outside Denmark. The world was there, and I have been to, I think it is 38 countries, all of East and Northern Africa, all of that. Only one time I went there for a stopover. Been to the US, I've been to Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Taiwan, Thailand, Japan, all those. And in every country, I have found things that I had no idea was there. Now I've been home for 10 years. And when I came home, I'd been 45 years out. When I came home, I was just like, wow, it's so beautiful here. I had forgotten. My son lives in France, and that's where I went first. And he drove me around, and I was like, wow, and 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 it's so beautiful. I saw it with completely new eyes, like I didn't know it. And then I came to Denmark, and Denmark is so beautiful. So beautiful. And it's a very nice country to live in, especially when you're my age, because I get a folks pension just like everybody else. And I actually have more money to myself than I ever had in my whole life. I mean, when you grow up 3 children by yourself, because I left Uganda when they were just very small, and then you have very little money to yourself. I would say, I want this dress, or I want this. And then my son would come, Mom, I need bigger shoes. Okay. There went the dress. So now I'm a happy camper. I totally disagree with the foreign policy of my country, but I don't have much influence on that. Though, of course, I protest where I can. I write letters to the ministers and say, no way, this is the wrong way. Anyway, now I've been here for 10 years and I have enjoyed it, and now I really want to go and travel again. I need to explore this place, Russia, especially Siberia, China, Tibet here. I want to go to Mongolia. These are the places that I haven't been to, and they're so beautiful. So that's what I'm going to do till the end of my life. Health permitting, but fortunately, I'm in good health. Okay, so if you like this video, press the like button, subscribe, because that helps me a lot, and tell me what you have experienced, like me, that things were not what you thought they were, and throughout your life you have learned to think for yourself, to look for the truth, and so on and so forth. Bye bye.